Imagine saving for years, only to discover that the California dream, the million-dollar home with palm trees in the front yard, is beginning to crack. In July 2025, the California Association of Realtors reported the statewide median home price slid to $884,050, marking the third straight monthly decline. Even the Bay Area, long untouchable, showed a dip. February's median slipped 0.5% to $1.25 million, its first year-over-year drop in 5 months. Meanwhile, luxury enclaves once seen as fortresses of value, Pacific Palisades, Altadena, are bleeding. After January's wildfires, Altadena's median collapsed 39.1% to just $867,500. Pacific Palisades tumbled nearly a quarter to $2.5 million. For buyers, the picture isn't much brighter. Mortgage rates stuck above 6% turned discounts into illusions. One Torrance worker called the asking prices bananas, staring at a cracked wall house listed near $900,000. A teacher in Bakersfield admitted his 7% loan felt like a permanent prison. So here's the question. Is California simply cooling after years of excess? Or is the Golden State's housing market truly slipping into a correction that could reshape family dreams, investor strategies, and even the identity of its cities? Would you still buy into the California dream or wait for it to crumble? California's real estate market has always been a paradox. Dazzling wealth standing right next to deep struggle. For decades, the million-dollar price tag on an ordinary suburban home was more than just a number. It was the symbol of the Golden State's allure and excess. But 2025 is rewriting the story. A steady drumbeat of reports shows cracks appearing in neighborhoods that once seemed invincible. Prices are slipping, listings are stalling, and even the most confident sellers are hesitating. The headlines are striking. The statewide median home price under $885,000. Bay Area million-dollar medians no longer immune to decline. In fire-hit enclaves, values cut by hundreds of thousands in mere months. This is not the kind of script Californians are used to reading, and it raises the central question for this video. Are million-dollar homes, once the untouchable crown jewel of California real estate, beginning to slide down the slope of correction? Behind every data point is a story. A refinery worker in Torrance walks through a modest house with cracked ceilings, laughing bitterly at the bananas $899,000 price tag. A Bakersfield teacher lies awake at night, wondering if his 7% mortgage will ever come down, or if he has locked his family into a financial cage. In Pacific Palisades, longtime homeowners whisper about neighbors forced to sell after wildfire losses, their million-dollar assets turning into burdens almost overnight. And buyers? They are trapped between fear and hope. Fear that they might overpay for a depreciating asset. Hope that if they wait just a little longer, the dream might finally come within reach. Sellers, meanwhile, face a different kind of anxiety. Do they lower their asking price and accept that the boom is over? Or hold the line and risk sitting on the market indefinitely? This tension makes California 2025 one of the most fascinating and dangerous real estate stories in the nation. It's not just about numbers, it's about psychology, risk, and the shifting identity of a state that has long promised endless sunshine and unstoppable appreciation. So as we peel back the layers, the real question isn't just, are homes slipping? It's, what does it mean for ordinary families, investors chasing returns, and the future of California cities if the million-dollar dream is no longer guaranteed? What would you do, buy now, or step back and wait for a deeper fall? When we talk about housing corrections, numbers matter. They cut through emotion and reveal what's really happening beneath the glossy real estate ads. In 2025, California's numbers are flashing yellow, and in some places, deep red. Let's start statewide. According to the California Association of Realtors, July's median home price clocked in at $884,050, down 1.7% from June and 0.3% from July 2024. That may sound modest, but it marks the third consecutive monthly decline, a streak rarely seen during the hot summer selling season. Typically, summer in California brings bidding wars, not price cuts. The drop is significant because it bucks the seasonal trend it suggests, structural weakness, not just random noise. Now, zoom in on the Bay Area. For years, this was the fortress of American real estate. Million-dollar listings weren't luxury, they were the baseline. Yet, in February 2025, the Bay Area's median slipped to $1.25 million, a 0.5% decline year over year. It's the first 5-month stretch to show an annual decline in nearly a decade. Managed Casa analysts described it bluntly. The shift is toward more affordable counties under $1 million. Translation? Buyers are voting with their wallets, abandoning high-priced enclaves for cheaper alternatives. The luxury sector tells an even darker tale. In Altadena, median prices fell from $1.425 million to $867,500 in just 6 months after January's wildfires, a staggering 39.1% drop. Pacific Palisades, one of Los Angeles' most iconic coastal neighborhoods, tumbled 23.7% from $3.31 million to $2.525 million. These aren't minor adjustments, they're wealth erasures measured in hundreds of thousands of dollars. For families who once believed real estate was a safe haven, this is trauma disguised as statistics. Consider the human side. A refinery worker in Torrance, Tommy Cotero, wandered through a house with cracked ceilings listed at $899,000 and shook his head. "It's bananas," he told the Los Angeles Times. For him, the math just doesn't compute. How can a flawed house near industrial corridors still demand nearly $1 million? The absurdity underlines how out of sync asking prices feel compared to the lived reality of middle-class Californians. Then there's Stephen Wolf, a teacher in Bakersfield. In 2022, he and his wife bit the bullet, taking on a 7% mortgage with the expectation rates would drop soon. They haven't. "We did this with the expectation that we would only have to weather this high payment for a chunk of time," he said. Now that chunk of time is looking permanent. His Saturdays, once for family outings, are now swallowed by side hustles just to keep up with payments. His voice adds flesh and blood to the sterile number. Interest rates at 6-7% aren't just economic data, they are stealing time, joy, and mental health. If buyers are squeezed, sellers are cornered. Take Johnny Raines, 76, in Leimert Park, Los Angeles. Real estate agents call constantly, pushing him to sell now while values remain high. He refuses. "This is important to my family, this is important to our soul," he insists. But his resolve hints at the psychology driving today's standoff. Sellers clinging to emotional value, buyers refusing to chase inflated tags. The result? Stalemate. Homes linger longer on the market, inventories creep up, and the gap between asking and closing prices widens. And then there's CalMatter's July 2025 report. Listings in San Francisco down 17% year over year, while other metros like San Diego and Riverside showed double-digit drops. Why? Sellers don't want to test the market if it means conceding to lower offers. They'd rather wait, even if it means freezing the pipeline of supply. But waiting only worsens the stalemate, fueling a market that feels more paralyzed than ever. Let's not forget the historical lens. In 2008, California's housing crash was driven by exotic loans, foreclosures, and speculation gone wild. Today, the story is different. This time, it's about affordability hitting a wall. The Legislative Analyst's Office recently calculated that a median-priced California home now requires $5,400 per month in mortgage payments with a 20% down payment. Compare that to $3,200 just 5 years ago. That $2,200 gap each month is the price of a family vacation, or the breaking point for a household budget. So where are the cracks deepest? Luxury homes, wildfire-prone regions, and the once untouchable Bay Area. Where is the demand shifting? Toward sub-million counties, where buyers can still imagine a stable life. And what about sentiment? From Cotero's bananas remark to Wolf's quiet desperation, it's clear Californians are no longer dazzled by the $1 million tag. They are weary, skeptical, and in many cases, disengaging. But here's the twist. Corrections are rarely uniform. Even as Pacific Palisades bleeds, other areas, think inland suburbs near Sacramento or parts of Orange County, remain surprisingly resilient, which raises the unsettling possibility that California is entering not a collapse, but a two-tiered market. The ultra-expensive coastal enclaves correcting sharply, while mid-range inland markets maintain demand. For viewers, the evidence points to a state in transition. The California dream hasn't collapsed, but the $1 million home, the once unshakable status symbol, is wobbling. Whether that wobble turns into a fall depends on forces we'll explore in the next section: interest rates, migration, climate risk, and the hidden economics behind the facade. So, let me ask you directly, if you were handed the keys to $1 million home in Los Angeles tomorrow, would you celebrate, or would you worry that you just caught a falling knife? To understand why $1 million homes in California are wobbling, you don't need spreadsheets, you need stories. Numbers tell you what is happening. People tell you why it matters. Take Stephen Wolf, a high school English teacher in Bakersfield. In 2022, he and his wife signed on to a dream: a 3-bedroom house, a backyard for their kids. The catch? A mortgage at nearly 7%. "We thought we'd refinance in a year or two," he told the Los Angeles Times. But 2 years later, rates are still stuck high, and his Saturdays are spent driving delivery routes instead of playing soccer with his children. That's not just an interest rate problem, it's a lifestyle crisis. His story explains why buyers are pulling back. When the dream requires sacrificing family time, it stops being a dream. Now look at Altadena, just outside Los Angeles. In January 2025, wildfires ripped through the hillsides. Homes once valued at $1.4 million suddenly dropped below $900,000. Families who thought they were sitting on golden equity now faced a harsh reality. Their biggest asset had lost nearly half its value overnight. The cause wasn't Wall Street greed or exotic loans. It was nature. Climate risk has become a silent player in California's housing correction. If your home can't be insured, or if the premium skyrockets, its million-dollar price tag becomes an illusion. Then there's the psychology of sellers, like Johnny Rains, 76, in Leimert Park. He has lived in his home since 2003. Realtors call him non-stop, pressuring him to sell while values are still high. But he refuses. "This is important to my family. This is important to our soul," he said. His words reveal another hidden cause: emotional attachment colliding with market reality. Sellers don't want to cut prices, even when buyers are scarce. So homes sit unsold, the market frozen between nostalgia and economics. And let's not forget the buyer's perspective from Torrance, where refinery worker Tommy Cotero toured a shabby house with cracked ceilings priced at $899,000. His reaction was raw. "It's bananas." His disbelief captures why fewer offers are coming in. People don't trust the value anymore. If a nearly million-dollar home looks and feels broken, what's the point of stretching your finances to buy it? These stories connect the dots. High rates make mortgages unbearable. Wildfires and climate risks erase value. Emotional sellers resist reality. Disillusioned buyers walk away. It's not a single cause, but a cocktail of pressures reshaping the California housing market in 2025. So the question becomes, when ordinary people, teachers, retirees, refinery workers are telling us they're trapped, skeptical, or defiant, is the million-dollar home still a dream, or has it quietly turned into a burden? What happens when the dream house becomes a nightmare? The consequences of California's housing correction ripple far beyond closing prices. They reshape how people live, work, and even imagine their futures. Start with the Wolves in Bakersfield. For them, the consequence is exhaustion. Every extra shift Steven takes to cover that 7% mortgage means less time with his children. Multiply that across thousands of households, and you don't just see a market correction, you see a generation of families trading memories for mortgage payments. That is the invisible cost no statistic can measure. In Altadena and Pacific Palisades, consequences are more brutal. Families who once saw their million-dollar equity as untouchable wealth now face sudden poverty of the mind. Imagine waking up to find your home, your legacy, worth hundreds of thousands less, because fire tore through the hillside or insurance companies walked away. The financial shock is obvious, but the emotional blow is heavier. How do you rebuild confidence in a home that may burn again? For sellers like Johnny Rains, the consequence is paralysis. He loves his home, but the calls from agents remind him daily that value is slipping. He refuses to sell, yet each month of inaction eats away at opportunity. Stalemates like his create frozen neighborhoods. Where nothing moves, buyers won't overpay, sellers won't compromise, and communities grow stagnant. For buyers like Tommy Cotero, the consequence is distrust. When an $899,000 house looks broken, it doesn't inspire offers, it inspires skepticism. If enough buyers share his disbelief, million-dollar listings sit longer, cutting into seller confidence and feeding a vicious cycle. What does the future hold? 3 possible paths emerge. The pessimistic scenario: rates stay high, natural disasters escalate, and million-dollar homes lose their aura of safety. Corrections deepen, pushing coastal markets into a slow-motion crash. Families who stretch too far face foreclosures, and the California dream becomes shorthand for financial ruin. The middle ground scenario: rates ease modestly, but affordability remains strained. Prices don't collapse, but they stagnate. Million-dollar homes no longer rise like rockets, they hover, waiting. Buyers remain cautious, sellers cling to old valuations, and the correction drags on for years, creating a sluggish, uneasy market. The optimistic scenario: rates fall sharply, climate risks stabilize, and renewed demand revives confidence. Buyers rush back, treating today's slip as a rare opportunity. Million-dollar homes regain some shine, though likely never the blind glamour they once had. The dream survives, but in a more sober, restrained form. Which scenario plays out depends not only on economics, but on human psychology, how much sacrifice buyers will tolerate, how much loss sellers will accept, and how much risk families are willing to live with in a state of beauty and danger. So here's the question for you. When you picture California in 2030, do you see million-dollar homes standing proud as symbols of success, or sagging quietly as relics of an era that slipped away? Now let's bring this story back to you. Imagine for a moment that you are living in Los Angeles with your family, earning a combined household income of $90,000 a year. You drive past rows of homes with for sale signs boasting prices of $1 million or more. Do you feel inspired to chase that dream or terrified that signing the papers could lock you into decades of financial strain? Picture yourself as Stephen Wolf, the Bakersfield teacher. Would you willingly trade your weekends, your free time with your kids, just to cover the mortgage on a house that might not even rise in value? Or put yourself in the shoes of Johnny Raines, the retiree clinging to his home as agents circle like vultures. Would you sell now to cash out or hold on to your sanctuary, even if the market is shifting under your feet? And here's a tougher scenario. Imagine you find a house in Pacific Palisades suddenly listed $600,000 below last year's price. Is that a golden ticket or a warning sign that you'd be stepping into a fire zone, literally and financially? This is the crossroads where California families stand today, and it's where you, as a viewer, can weigh in. Do you see California's million-dollar homes as bargains waiting to be claimed or bubbles waiting to burst? Drop your perspective in the comments. Option A, the correction is temporary, buy now before prices rebound. Option B, this is the start of a long decline, wait it out. Your answers aren't just reactions, they're a reflection of how ordinary people read the future of America's most iconic housing market. California in 2025 is not the same California of glossy brochures and endless bidding wars. The numbers have slipped, yes, but the stories tell us even more. A teacher chained to a 7% mortgage, a refinery worker laughing bitterly at a broken million-dollar house, a retiree guarding his home like it's his soul. These are not isolated tales. They are the human pulse of a market in correction. The million-dollar home, once a trophy of success, is now a question mark. Is it an asset to build wealth or a liability waiting to erode it? In July, the median price slid under $885,000. In Altadena, values collapsed nearly 40% after wildfires. In Pacific Palisades, the aura of coastal luxury cracked by a quarter in just months. These aren't footnotes, they are signals. So here's the cinematic frame to leave you with. Imagine California's iconic palm-lined streets as a roulette wheel. Some are betting the ball will land back on red-hot growth. Others fear it's spinning toward a long chill. Which side are you on? Share your thoughts below. Would you risk it all for $1 million home today or hold back and wait? Subscribe for more deep dives, and let's keep this conversation alive.